What do we expect out of this sort of mini session?
Yeah, so special sessions are subject to the call of the governor. No one else can call them. They last only 30 days, and the issues that can be considered are entirely up to the governor. And so in this case, he's, I think, signaled that he's going to put at least 4 issues on the call. He's going to put this issue of social media companies and deplatforming individuals. He's putting bail reform on there. He's putting the legislative budget on there so that the staff and the members can get paid. And then finally, he's putting election integrity on there. It wouldn't surprise me if he had something related to border security and border security funding on there as well. Look, these are intense periods. Instead of 140 days, you have 30 days. The election integrity issue has a lot of hot opinions on both sides. It's going to be very divisive, probably. The other issues, I think there probably will be pretty good agreement. But, the question is whether they can get all the work done, and whether there's a need for a second special session, which no one wants.
We already know that there's likely to be one later this year to deal with redistricting.
Yep.
And now the lieutenant governor has come out and said, hey, we ought to have a special session to deal with the electric grid here in Texas, which, going into the regular session, that was supposed to be the great big item. That was supposed to be the thing that was definitely going to get done after what happened in February. And then here we started the month of June, and we were all told to, hey, ease up on the electricity because we don't know if we're going to have enough. Do you think we see a special session just for that? And should we?
Great question. It feels to me like the lieutenant governor is right about this, and I don't know where the governor is on this. He said a couple of weeks ago that he believes that they've done everything they need to do related to the electric grid. I don't know whether he still believes that after the last rainstorm in Austin. I know we had 30,000 people lose power for 3 weeks, which is ridiculous. That was just from a rainstorm. I think the lieutenant governor is trying to get ahead of blackouts and brownouts, which could come this summer. And I think he recognizes that we haven't gone far enough. Whether the governor believes that is the only thing that matters, because he's the only one that can decide what goes on the special session call.
Is it thornier, though, in the sense when you take something up in a special session that you do focus the attention of the voting public who might actually tend to pay attention a little bit more than they do when there's the flood of bills during the regular legislative session?
Yes, you raise the stakes on any given issue because more people are paying attention. And you're probably going to have supporters and opponents really more mobilized, more engaged, working harder because they're able to do it. During the legislative session, 140 days, you have thousands of bills filed. I think they passed something like 1,200 this year. That was far less than they normally pass, right? So it's really hard to focus the attention of the public on any one issue. Unless it really becomes a national issue, it's very hard to do that. In this case, you're going to have a major national debate in Texas on election integrity from July 8th to August 8th or whenever it gets done. It is going to be a circus, and I think Texans should be aware of that. And I wouldn't rely on rhetoric. I'd look at the actual bill, what it actually does, whether there was a problem at all. Everyone can come to their own conclusion, but it's important that Texans understand what this law does and what it doesn't do.
Mm-hmm. And more of the circus that you're talking about could be going on just outside of the Capitol rather than necessarily under the dome.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to have massive protests. You're going to have celebrities coming in. You're going to have all kinds of things, pressure campaigns, probably some threats. That's how high the stakes are. And I think Democrats see this bill as affecting future elections. I don't think Republicans see it that way. I really don't.
Hey, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.